Hey y'all, Ramdino here, coming at you from North Carolina, where there are a lot of positive things going on with the Appalachian Trail this week. Things continue to open up. More and more hikers are getting out there on the trail. More and more hikers are reporting in, and I graciously appreciate that. If you've come to this channel and you're looking to be a part of the hiker community or to support the thru hikers, then you have come to the right place. And the best way you can support the thru hikers, other than actually going out on their trail and doing trail magic, is to go to their websites, go to their YouTube videos, go to their Instagrams, and leave comments and support them, and just give them attaboys all the way throughout their journey. And you'll find that list of the folks that we're tracking down in the description section there. It's a Google spreadsheet, and it has everybody's links that we have to their social media accounts. If you're a thru hiker and you want to be on that list, please let me know, and I'll be glad to include your information on there as well. We've added some folks this week, and we're adding more and more every week, more and more people getting back out there. Of course, beginning of the year, we started out with like 225 people, and now we're down to less than 100, but there's still 100 folks out there, and there's obviously more than that on the trail right now. And so things are looking up. People are getting back out there every day. So help me to support these thru hikers and to help me to build this hiker community. And so let's go ahead and get on with the reason you came here, and that is for the update. Had a lot of people reach out to me and ask me about Happy. So Happy was one of the personalities that was out there on the trail before the virus hiatus occurred. And like most folks, he got off the trail, and so far he has not gotten back on. I reached out to him, and he did comment back to me and let me know that he is kind of waiting to see if we have a second wave of this where they start closing stuff down. He didn't want to get involved in that. So right now, Happy is not back out there on the trail. Kodak, she is going to be finished in Pennsylvania in a day or so. And she indicated that Anchor in Alaska, those are members of her family, went home to handle a few things. They're going to be back out there. Mama Bear has gotten off the trail likely for good, and Spitfire is back home healing up from some knee issues and injuries, and hopefully Spitfire is going to be able to return. Just have to see how it goes. Wild, he is north of Delville, and he's hooked up with the Tramley. There's about 9 or so of them, and some of those Tramley members call themselves the 3 non-blondes. Plus they've got an extra member they picked up, and that's Billy. There's a few other folks hiking with that Tramley. They sound like they're having a really good time. The 3 non-blobs and Billy, we have added their social media links down in the bottom. They're near the bottom of that Google Doc, and if you'll go there and keep them pumped up and subscribe to their channels, and just let them know you're out there rooting for them. Joe Hikes, he is past the 600 mark. Congratulations, Joe. And he's aiming to summit Katahdin on September 17th. That's his birthday. So he's got a goal set there, and I'm sure that he will be able to reach that no problem. 40, he's around the Bland area and will be off for a few days to nurse some shin splints. He does have some new shoes that he's going to be getting some break-in time on them, just with some short hikes, but did get shin splints. And I know when I was in the military and basic training, the combat boots they gave me, they did not have any arch supports, and I got shin splints and couldn't figure it out. I was chewing through a third of a bottle of aspirin, it seemed like a day, to help me with those shin splints, until I figured it out and went and got me some support soles. So support soles are pretty important. I'll have a video coming out sooner or later on a review of some support soles that I did for hiking on the trail. John Boy, he's in mid-Virginia and hiking with Jake from State Farm, Jeff, and Buckley. Chris H. 900, he has crossed over into New York. Crusoe's north of the Dole and hiking with Spice, Little Flower, Raptor, Sherper, and Mike. Sunset and Colonel Clothesline, they are somewhere around the New Jersey state line. Dirt Nap, she's in New Jersey, or correction, New Hampshire, and she's only got one more state to go, and of course that's Maine after New Hampshire. Gumby, he's around Bland, Virginia. Oso is north of Fingerboard Shelter earlier in this past week, and he is reporting bear activity there at that shelter. So we'll talk a little bit more about bear activity in a new section here on the video in just a few minutes. Snow White is around the Duquesne area and passed 100 miles this week. So obviously she's doing a flip-flop. Congratulations on her for passing into the triple digits. Phoenix, he is in the Roan Mountain Highlands area. and he is really enjoying that section. That is one of my favorite sections as well. Dirty Jobs and his family of Punchline, Slider, Granger, Rock Flipper, Anchor, Cyborg, Chickweed, Kaleidoscope, and Loofah are done with Pennsylvania. Congratulations on getting out of Rocksylvania. And they celebrated by some of them went rafting on the river there at Delaware Water Gap, and they are continuing on into New Jersey. Monk, he is hiking and is probably through the Triple Crown now. So congratulations on getting through that. We'll talk a little bit more. The Triple Crown has been closed previously. We'll talk a little bit more about some exciting openings that are coming up. Michael Bay also passed through Roan Mountain Highlands, and he does not have a trail name yet. So if you are hiking around Michael Bay, please, everybody likes to have a trail name. That's kind of one of their bucket lists for their AT hike. So somebody give him a trail name, and hopefully that'll be one that he really enjoys. Free Walker and Walden, they are also in the Roan Mountain Highlands, and they stayed at the same hostel as Phoenix. So they're getting to hook up with Phoenix, get to know him a little better. Owlcat and PR, Hawk, Jay, Silent Bob, Captain Jack, Direction, Apollo, Hot Tea, and Empty Space were all in Buchanan this past weekend. So that is a crowd of folks there in Buchanan. So obviously we've had a lot of folks in the Buchanan, and that's kind of a micro bubble there, and Delville area is kind of a micro bubble. So a lot of little tiny bubbles, no big bubbles going on right now, a lot of little tiny bubbles. Nan and Kev, they have returned to the trail this past week, and a couple folks that we want to add to the list is Books, Pigeon, Billy, and Rudy, and those are the non-blondes family, and they're around the Delville area where there seems to be, like I said, pretty good sized micro bubble there. Trail conditions and resupplies at hostels and shuttles. So I had quite a few thru hikers get back to me and let me know how the trail conditions are as far as getting shuttles or getting resupply, how that's going, what's closed, what's open, if they're having trouble with shuttles, if they're having trouble getting into hostels. And so I appreciate that. Please, thru hikers, if you're out there, let me know. Want to let the folks that are down south know that. And particularly, even in this case now, there may be some people that are flopping north that might need to know what's going on up there too. So in the south, we know there's quite a bit open. Up the north, the details are not as good, particularly around Maine, New Jersey, Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont. But the trail conditions we got right now, Snow White, again, was in the Buchanan area, and she says the shuttles are plentiful and resupply is no problem. Kodak is done with Pennsylvania, and there's been no resupply problems. Most places do require masks, however, but there's been no issues getting things like laundries, post offices, hotels, groceries, all that's good to go. Rock Flipper is through Delaware Water Gap, and he says resupply has been good, as has the hostels. He does not recommend the travel in Wind Gap. He said that the travel in messed up some reservations for some hikers in there, and he said the place was a dump. He said the Doyle, that place made the Doyle look good. So that was the travel in there at Wind Gap. So keep that in mind as you're going through there. And as you're going through, I would encourage you to leave a response for other folks about the hostel situation. What you thought of each hostel. They're all not alike and everything, and so it's important for the other folks coming back through behind you. Chris H90 is around Bear Mountain, New York for resupply, and he said he had to Uber into My Town Marketplace in Highland Falls, which was a little over 2 miles away, because they had a whole lot better place to resupply there, and he said that the Mount Marketplace is a very tiny grocery store. So he went ahead and took an Uber into town at the My Town Marketplace. So that's good to know. Appreciate that information. He also warns that you probably need to take an Uber there because the Highway 9 W9 West is not a safe road to walk along. There's not a really good shoulder there for you to walk along. Oso's in New York coming into Connecticut, and he reports that the hostels are open, but he's kind of given up time trying to find some. So apparently they're overcrowded or not enough of them are open. He did say that hotels are expensive, but some lower cost options are available. You can get a taxi from most of the trailheads to take you to a grocery store, and he has not been calling Shuttles. He says the taxi option is a little expensive, but it's sometimes necessary. He also says there's delis and grocery stores that are open that are on the trail. And if you call ahead to outfitters, they will open their doors for hikers coming through, and fuel has not been an option or a problem for him. So appreciate that. Also, Dirt Nap, she is of course way further north, and she's past Vermont, says the hostels are closed. Most hostels in Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine aren't taking out-of-towners due to the 14-day mandatory quarantine. So those states, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, right now are requiring a 14-day mandatory quarantine whenever you cross, for out-of-towners or out-of-staters, whenever you cross into their state. So they're requiring that, and it sounds like that hotels and hostels are asking about that and won't let you stay there if you indicate you are thru hiker or indicate that you've been out of state. She did say Trail Angels have been very helpful. We appreciate that, Trail Angels, and they've been staying at people's houses. Resupply is good enough, she says. However, the Notch Hostel and Shawls in Maine are open up soon. So the Notch Hostel's in the right there at the Whites, and Shawls is in Maine, when you probably the last hostel before you come to the 100-mile wilderness. So they have previously been closed, but they are opening soon. So appreciate that, Dirt Nap. Very good information. Anybody else that's up north or in Pennsylvania or in the mid-Atlantic states, please let me know so that I can pass that along to the folks coming behind you. It's really good information, particularly you folks that are up in New Hampshire, Maine, and Vermont. I'd like to hear from you. Speaking of Trail Angels, Fresh Ground is getting back on the trail this coming week. So I know a lot of folks out there excited about that. He's going to be getting on somewhere in mid-Virginia and then working his way up north. Particularly working his way as the quarantines get better to where they don't require to quarantine, and he can park at trailheads and stuff. So still some trailheads up north don't allow you to park there, and that's typically where he camps for the night. But the main thing is those banana pancakes is getting back on the trail. So Fresh Ground, we look forward to you. And then of course Trail Angel Munn up in Virginia, he continues to replenish water supplies through that area where there's a pretty good drought going on up there right now. So if you're a Trail Angel, please let me know if you'd like to be included in the public update, or if you just want me to include your information to hikers that ask for it privately, then I will do that and pass that along. I've done that on several occasions, and they have gotten together, and that has worked out great for them. So that won't be, if you indicate so, I won't include your contact information on the public forum, but we'll do so privately to thru hikers. Bear reports. Well, of course, we've had some bear reports down in North Carolina, down around Bly Gap, which is at 78 miles, 78.2, and Long Branch Shelter, which is at 102.2. Somewhere in there is another shelter that we had reported earlier. They've got problems there with bears. And then to add to that, a new one, the Fingerboard Shelter in New York has bears again this year. I had 2 different reports from people telling me about that, and that the mom has 4 cubs. So now you got 5 of them to fight you. And the mom is not afraid of shelter occupants. So Fingerboard Shelter is a problematic shelter every year for bears, and particularly now that this mama bear has really become used to people. And once the cubs are out on their own, they're probably going to have to do something about that, unfortunately. So what have we got going on trail news? Well, a couple negative things, and then we'll move on real quick past those. But James Jordan, who was the hiker that killed Sergeant Sanchez, thru hiker last year, and also injured another thru hiker who has now come back from her injuries. And if it not for the virus, she would have been hiking this year. But then there were also 2 other survivors of that attack. Just keep them in your minds, keep them in your prayers. James Jordan has been declared mentally competent to stand trial, which means that a trial date will be set soon, and they'll have to go through that whole process of the trial, and hopefully will plead guilty, and they won't have to go through all that. But I'm sure this has stirred up some old memories for them, so you folks just remember them. If you know who they are, and I'm not going to mention them here on this forum, but a lot of you, or particularly those that hiked last year, know who they are. Please send them, just let them know that you're thinking about them. and hopefully that this will pass quickly. And then I had a missing persons advocate contact me about a missing thru hiker. And this is a thru hiker that actually was a thru hiker from 2018. This has been going on for a while. A lot of people seem to know him. After he got off the trail in 2018, he wound up in Florida, and then he was found in his tent, passed away, with plenty of money on his person. So it wasn't a robbery or anything kind of foul play going on there, but nobody knows who he is. And so this missing persons and runaway advocate is trying to bring some closure for the family and trying to possibly give him a proper burial. So if you have met this hiker before and you know his name or know anything about him, where you might be able to find him, he went by the names of Denim, Mostly Harmless, and he signed in and out of hostels with the name Ben Bellamy, B-I-L-A-M-Y, Ben Bellamy. So if you knew Denim or Mostly Harmless or Ben, you know anything about him where there could be some closure brought to him, please, right here you have some contact information on this graphic that tells you who to contact. Certainly you can contact me and I will get this to the missing persons advocate that contacted me, but appreciate that. You know, every year seems like it's some tragedy hits some type of thru hiker, and we've had that already this year. So we would just like to do our part as a hiker community to try to bring some closure to this hiker's life and try to help him and his family out. So some of the really good news that's going on right now, and that is the bridge at Harpers Ferry is finally under repair. So they've been talking about that ever since December 21st when the train destroyed it, or destroyed a section of it. So now that is actually taking place. They finally got their ducks in a row. Construction has started and it's supposed to be finished sometime in July. Now the ATC and the National Park Service and the Canal Towns Partnership were all supposed to be coming together and putting together a shuttle service. However, I'm sure that's not going to happen until, particularly from the ATC standpoint, until somebody gives the all clear. And of course, that's not going to happen either. So I would not count on the shuttle. There's no great way to shuttle around there other than to pay for a shuttle. The road walk to get around there is on a very busy highway with a very poor shoulder. And then there is another set of train tracks next to the tracks where the walkway was built next to, but it's not a good idea. It's a trespassing to walk across those other train tracks, across that other bridge, so I certainly don't recommend either one of those options. The only option I would recommend is the safe one, and that's to get a cab or an Uber, or to possibly get a shuttle if you can find one there. And down in the description section, there are a few folks that I have listed as shuttles. There's also a shuttle site. I've listed the description section there. There's also a link to shuttles for the throughout the AT, so you can go and find those there. And then really big deal coming up, and that is the shanties are open for overnight, day and night, overnight, 24-hour camping and hiking now. So they had opened up just for hiking during the day, except the border trails, which included the Appalachian Trail, because it comes across the border, where all that is opened up now. And the waysides are starting to open starting June 11th. They've already started to open, and then they will be doing more and more will be opening throughout the month of June. So hopefully you hikers going through there will get you some of those blackberry milkshakes. Do not miss out on that at those waysides in there. So that's pretty neat. Glad to see that happening. More and more positive things every week are going on. And then also the Triple Crown in Virginia has officially opened. And I saw where Monk has had been hiking up there at McAfee's Knob, and he couldn't get the iconic picture because there was so many people up there. So just keep that in mind. Now that the Triple Crown is open, it's going to be a few weeks before folks will get their fill of it and go back into town where other things are opening up. So you hikers out there on the trail and the trail community, please send me any information you have about what's going on the trail. This is a community effort, with me just being the kind of the talking head here and letting folks know, and that's what I enjoy doing most, is helping thru hikers and helping the hiker community in general, not just thru hikers but section hikers as well. So appreciate everybody watching. Subscribe to this channel, leave a comment, give me a thumbs up. As always, appreciate you, and we'll see you out here.